Hello, my name is Bryce Tubbs. With me today is Alicia Pollock. I'm super excited to be able to have this conversation with her because she's been doing a lot of great work. And we've been knowing each other for probably about a year and a half, but we've never had a full conversation until today. So I'm super excited because she's amazing at technology training and just a lot of cool stuff that I think that my audience can get a really good amount of value from. So
Mhm.
Alicia, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Alicia Katz Pollock, and I'm half of the team at Royalwise.com. There's the logo, and we do computer training and support. And I focus on QuickBooks, and my husband and business partner Jamie focuses on Apple, and we also have a smattering of Microsoft Office in there as well.
Awesome. And can you kind of talk about the story of how you guys came to? Because I know you guys have 30 years of combined technology experience. Kind of tell the story about that.
Well, I've been a computer geek since I was little. The first home computers came out when I was in middle school or junior high. And so I got an Apple II, I think it was an Apple Plus computer. Mac Plus computer was my very first one. And the first thing that I did was go down to my dad's dental office and enter all of his client files and names and addresses into the computer. So we're talking the very, very beginning of technology. And I went through walls and walls and walls of files and put everybody in and learned how to print mailing labels for his postcards that he sends out to his clients for cleanings for his patients. And so that was my first job at 13. And so I've been a computer geek as long as there have been computers. And so I've been collecting certifications. I'm Microsoft certified, Apple certified, QuickBooks certified. And I'm a teacher by nature. I have a master's in teaching. And so teaching people to use the software was absolutely my passion as opposed to just using it myself.
Awesome, awesome. And because I know you guys you have so many different people you could help. What inspired you to even work with accountants and bookkeepers as well as one of your target markets?
Right. Well, I started in Microsoft and teaching Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint in colleges, in business colleges. And then I kind of went off on my own. And because I've been an Apple user for over 30 years, I also joined the Apple Consultants Network. And so it became all about setting up people's computers and teaching them how to use it. And I also had my own jewelry company. And so learning to do the bookkeeping for those two businesses is how I began doing bookkeeping. And I realized that I kind of liked it. I like putting numbers in buckets. I like categorizing things. And so I started learning the bookkeeping that went along with it for my businesses. And then my computer clients started saying, well, can you do that for me? And I'm like, well, I'm not a bookkeeper. I'm not sure I know what I'm doing. So I showed what my work to some bookkeepers and accountants that I know and trust. And they're like, Alicia, you're actually pretty good at this. They gave me they signed off on the work that I was doing. So I went ahead and started learning more about the bookkeeping and accounting behind the scenes so that I knew what I was doing and why. And then, so when Jamie and I first started the company, we would just pick up the phone and whoever was first available would take whichever appointment. And then the QuickBooks stuff just started growing and growing and growing. And so we decided it made better sense for me just to focus on QuickBooks and him just to focus on Apple. So my days of going in and setting up your Apple IDs are long gone, but that's where I started.
Oh my gosh, that's cool. Actually, I had a similar kind of background with technology and stuff where I'd be, always the youngest person in the room when I'd be dealing with people who are 60 and 70 years old. So as soon as technology started coming out, it's always help them figuring it out, right? Helping them figure it out. So that's kind of cool that that's your background. Can you tell me? So I know you guys do really great training inside of your group for your group. Can you just kind of talk about who is your group for, who can benefit from it, and what can they get from it?
My specific group actually came not necessarily from the from the training side of it, but my group was because as I participated in all of the other bookkeeping groups that there are on Facebook, self-promotion was not it isn't really appreciated in other people's groups. And I teach classes, right? I have classes that solve these problems, but it was just not cool for me to talk about myself. And so I realized that this wasn't just my problem. This is a problem that everybody had. So training for QuickBooks users was originally designed, and actually still is. It's a place where people in the industry who are teaching classes and have training resources can go and post their stuff to get the word out to people. And so training for QuickBooks users, I mean, yeah, I do a lot of Q&A and people do come there to ask questions, but there's a lot of Facebook groups where that's happening. So I kind of leave that to them. And so my goal is for all of my colleagues who are providing information and resources for bookkeepers and business owners, this is a place where you can post it and celebrate your achievements and all the hard work you're doing and get the word out without feeling compromised.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. Actually, to be honest, because that's one of the reasons why I think we didn't talk, because I just assumed that you were most other group owners. It's like, okay, if you post anything inside, you're automatically getting kicked out. They don't want you to help anybody. So I was like, okay, let's just kind of move. But that's really cool. And can you talk about maybe some of the people who maybe are partners and have
Yeah.
helped you out in the past in some of your cool endeavors?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge fan of partnerships, and there's those little bracelets where you pick your word for the year. And in 2020, the word I came up with was partnership. That, as Matthew Fulton's fond of saying, together we all succeed, or until it says a rising tide floats all boats. At Royalwise, we say that we're not going to fight over slices of the pie. Let's just bake a bigger pie so there's enough for everybody. And in my library, in my Royalwise library at learn.royalwise.com, I have over 40 classes that are just QBO training. And my husband, Jamie, has another 40 that are all Apple training. But I realized that there are some places that I've got gaps in my curriculum. Like my curriculum is very specifically learn to use QuickBooks Online, as opposed to learn bookkeeping, right? There's other bookkeeping trainings out there that will help you grow your practice. I'm very, very narrowly this is how you do things in QBO. And so that leads to gaps in my library for the people who do want the practice management or the accounting behind the scenes. And so I've started bringing in additional instructors as well. So I have a handful of guest instructors who have come in and taught short courses that are essentials out of their larger programs. So like Veronica Wasek, who is like a cleanup queen, has this full 10-hour program. But on my website, we took 2 hours of essentials so that you can do those 2 hours. And then if you're like, whoa, that was great, I want the rest of her information, you can go over to her full program and get a discount on the full program. And so I've done that with Greg Boston's QuickBooks Made Easy for Nonprofits. You can take my 2-hour essential nuggets, and then if you like it, get a coupon to go over and take his full program. Hector Garcia has done a advanced reporting for me. Just this past week, Kathy Grosskirth did an accounting 101. So when it's time to do debits and credits, they're for me flash drives. You put the flash drive in the computer and it doesn't fit. And so you flip it over and it still doesn't fit, and you flip it back again and it finally goes in. So for me, that's debits and credits. And so I wanted debit and credit training in my portal. And I know it, I can teach it. But I was like, Kathy's specializing in this. Let's go focus on her. And so that's kind of where Royalwise is. That's one of our growth areas, is bringing in guest instructors to fill in all of the gaps, because the more education we can get out there, the easier everybody's life is. I hate doing things more than once, and I hate it when things take a long time. So I'm all about the efficiency tips. Anything we can do to give you the most information in the shortest period of time and have fun while you're doing it. That accounting could be eye-gougingly boring, but that's not how I want your experience at Royalwise to be.
Okay. And let me ask this question. Do you have any tips for someone who's maybe, for example, I have a kind of cool crossover audience where there's a certain percentage of my students in my program where they do accounting and bookkeeping, but then they also want to do a mentorship program very similar like how I have, or they're trying to be coaches, or they're trying to make a course. Do you have any tips on how to make maybe a good course or a good, product types information package?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in leveraging your resources. So for example, when I have a topic that I want to teach, I make it into a course, but then I also try and get snippets out in different ways and like write articles or blog articles or get them published on other websites. And so that's one of the best things that you can do when you're creating your own resources is find new channels, find ways of kind of turning it on its head so that you're not having to come up with something completely different every single time, and make sure it goes out to different audiences so they're not just getting the same message over and over again.
Nice. And even kind of deeper, if this is okay, asking, because I know we didn't really talk about this question, but I'm just really intrigued. But what is your process for, maybe you have an existing program of how you do the training. For you to make a version of 2.0, what is your process of doing that?
You mean updating content? I'm
Yeah,
sure.
so for example, like myself, right now I have a program, right? Most of my stuff is focused on like coaching and mentorship, where it's more of the direct going and going. So as a result, most of my program has been about filling in gaps inside of that coaching. So right now I'm going and making a version 2.0, but I have a certain process I'm looking. So I'm just trying to see how can I augment my process.
Sure. I mean, all the content that I have in my library directly stems from my interactions with my clients. That it started, my first QBO course, which is a 6-hour kind of all-day course, was because I was setting up people's QuickBooks and teaching them how to use it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing the same stuff over and over and over again with all of these clients. So I created a class. And at first it was a live class that all of my clients would all come together and all take the same class at the same time. So we would have like my 10 current setup clients all in the same room. And that was kind of the magic of internet, that now it's not time-based or location-based. I don't even teach live classes anymore. It's all web-based. So then what happened is, after that 6 hours, I mean, anybody who knows QuickBooks knows that you can't learn everything in QuickBooks in 6 hours. So then it became a matter of, okay, well, what else do I need to talk about? Okay, reports. And I made a 2-hour class just on reports. Understanding the chart of accounts. I got a 2-hour class just on understanding the chart of accounts. Or like the Project Center came out when it was brand new. I made a 2-hour course just on using the Project Center, which then the next time I taught, I was like, okay, well, I want to talk more about job costing also. So because QuickBooks is always changing, I have to re-record my content at least once every 2 years, if not once every 6 months. And so I'm always now looking at the curriculum when I'm planning the next course to see what's still solid, what needs to be updated, and what have I learned since then that I can now build into the courses. And so I've got over 40 different classes that are just little deep dives into different twists on the information, right? Like how to use the GoPayment app now has its own course instead of being part of the bigger picture.
And where can people go to learn more about the different courses you have?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. My website is royalwise.com. That's up the side. Royal like a king and wise like an owl. And then the learning portal itself, you can get there from there, but it's learn.royalwise.com. And so the way that I arrange the information is all the courses are completely standalone. So you can just buy just the one course you need, like 2 hours just on the banking feeds, because the banking feeds are either your best friend or your worst nightmare if you don't use them right. So 2 hours on like everything that I know about the banking center. And so you can take the one course. Or I also have a subscription to the website that at the bronze level, it's $47 and you get $108 in coupons that you can apply to the live classes, to the on-demand classes, and you get to permanently own them forever and ever and ever. You get lifetime access, including the updates. Then I have a silver level that's more group, where you get full access to the whole entire library plus an hour group coaching session. So this is where my coaching program comes in. And then at the gold level, you also get to work with me one-on-one, where every month we have a standing hour where we can look at your file together or troubleshoot your file or do your reconciliations, or you just make a list of questions and I answer them. And I'm loving the coaching. And so that's been one of the new things that we're doing that is really, really working out, because there's a lot of bookkeepers out there that aren't sure what to do in a situation. And it's not something you can call Intuit's support line for. It's not the software is broken. It's, I don't know how to use QuickBooks to split this loan, or to, what do PayPal isn't quite working out. Intuit support can't help you with that, but you can ask me and I'll have the answer. So you can either ask it in the forums, and computer bings every time somebody puts it in the forums and I answer there, or you make that appointment.
Yeah.
And so
That's really cool.
a lot of people are using me as a help desk now, and it's,
Yeah.
growing, and I love it. It's fun because all the questions are different from the normal
Yeah.
kinds of information.
Yeah. And that's cool too, since you have like the different tiers, like they can literally have you in their pocket for the rest of their life if they needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Awesome. Well, I appreciate learning more about your story, and it's been really great just kind of introducing and sharing your story to both my audience and your audience. So I really appreciate your time doing this so far.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. So, and thank you for those watching. I think will be really good now is if we kind of switch the interview. So the first half is dedicated to Alicia, second half can be dedicated to me, and seeing if I can add some value to you guys watching to today as well. Awesome. So Alicia, you can kind of take the reins and you can ask the question from here, and then, I'll stop being the host.
Okay. So I know that you're really leaning in on coaching and mentoring for accountants. How did you get to that point? Did you start as a bookkeeper or as an accountant?
Yeah. So I got started with my accounting and bookkeeping business about 7 years ago. It's gonna be 7 years officially in March, but it was just one of those things where when I first got started, it was very challenging, right? I didn't know how to do pricing, I didn't know how to
Mhm.
do marketing, I didn't know how to do sales. So even though my business had been around for 7 years, the first probably about it took me 14 months to be able to start making, good money.
Mhm.
And the first 6 months was terrible. I went 0 for 36. Yeah. That's
Mm.
no, I take that back. I went 1 for like 30. It was like 1 for 36 or 1 for 37. One person said yes. And it was for like a cleanup for $1,700. And the duration covered 3 years. So if you guys know anything about like pricing a cleanup, that's like less than between 37 to like $50 a month that I was cleaning up.
Mm.
That's very, very low.
Oh,
So
yeah.
suffice to say, when you quit your job, you go try and start your business, the most money you make in a month is like $2,000.
You're not going to make it very long,
You're
right?
not going to make it. So I went back into corporate America for about 8 months, and I was, it was terrible because I was like super embarrassed. So it was kind of in the business realm, being able to communicate and talk to new potential clients and just really be able to make friends with people who have money and who have a need is very important. But for me, as soon as I started failing, I started closing down. And people would always ask me because they'd always know, like they'd see my website, like, hey, how's the business going? How's everything going? And I would just be like, oh, it's okay. And then I would just bolt, like at church, at my job. What that would look like is like I would leave my car, go into work, try and find like the longest route to my desk that avoided talking to people. Because every day it was always somebody new that would ask that same question. And it was so painful for me. So what I ended up having to do was, as soon as I started saving up a little bit of money, I started just investing in like courses, seminars, books, guru masterminds,
Mhm.
mentorship. And it was just one of those things where it was like I would buy something, and sometimes it would work really well. Sometimes it wouldn't quite work out of the box. And I have to like tweak it, tweak it, tweak it, try, tweak, try, buy, try, tweak, try, buy, and keep going until I eventually figure this stuff out. Right. And it was kind of like after about 14 months of being in hiding, isolation, and like that quiet just anger, because I would be seeing people inside of like Facebook groups for like bookkeepers and accountants, and they would start their business, they would become like QuickBooks certified, and then all of a sudden they'd be like making like 7 grand a month, 8 grand a month. And that just kind of, because I'm a competitive person, made me so irritated. They'd be like, I've been trying so hard. I'm doing everything. I'm not lazy. I know I can do business. Like, I don't care what my mind's telling me. I don't care. I kept hearing voices like in my head. It's like, maybe you're just not cut out for this. maybe you're not a business person like you thought you were.
Well, it's hard when you to get those first clients when you're just starting out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just kept hearing that, like, and that because I almost quit like a lot of times in that first like 14-month period, just my accounting bookkeeping business. Like it was just like maybe you need to go stay in corporate America and get 50 years experience before you start your business. Because I'm on the younger side. I'm not 50 years old. If you
Right. You
guys
don't want to
can't tell
wait
that,
that long.
can't tell
No.
that now,
So what
but that was
shifted
kind
for
of
you?
one of the things.
So what
Yeah, so
shifted?
literally buying those programs. That's why it's like I just kept buying and trying and tweak it, buying, trying and tweaking. I spent like $35,000 and like it was like $35,600 and some change. And at the end of that 14 months, it was like my income just started going up. It was almost like doubling month over month until about the end of the year, I made it to like $15,000 per month in sales, right? And then what happened was I just started posting inside of like Facebook groups, kind of similar to what you're talking about, where it was like, hey, just got a new virtual CFO client, just got a
Mhm.
new bookkeeping client, just got a new cleanup. And it wasn't that I was like trying to brag. I was trying to brag and I was being competitive, but I was just trying to be like, hey, I can do this. I am a business
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And then what started happening was like people would just start coming out of the woodworks and they'd be like, well, how'd you do that? And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you. Because think about it, like I don't know if you know,
Well,
like
That,
people in
that's
corporate,
that's where, like I was saying earlier, about fighting over slices of the pie. That in some
yeah,
industries, if I have a client, that means you don't have a client. And there's more than enough bookkeeping clients in small businesses that don't have bookkeepers. There's more than enough work. In fact, we don't have enough bookkeepers, and especially we don't have a lot of young bookkeepers, and we don't have a lot of BIPOC bookkeepers. We really need to expand this field and get new blood.
yeah. But I mean, at the time, it was kind of like I don't know if Will was from corporate America. Like, I want my boss's job. This guy wants my job. Everybody's kind of like climbing that ladder. So I like carried that over into like the business world. So it's like just like you're saying, like the slices of the pie. And I didn't know, like nowadays, I know like there's 23.5 million business owners alone on LinkedIn. Like, I don't know about you, but you don't need 23.5 million clients in
No, you
order to
need
like
like it could be one. You might just need one really good client, or maybe you want
yeah,
10, or maybe you do want 50. Yeah.
yeah. Like especially when you start thinking about like how much you can actually charge. Like I have students inside of my mentorship, like James charged one client 10 grand a month. Right? People ask like, is it easy to make 10 grand a month, Bryce? I'm like, well, it depends. Like, how high are your fees? If you charge
Right.
5 grand, you only need two. It's not terribly hard, right? I got a student that has like a $15,000 a month restaurant client.
Mhm.
And it's just like it's just so cool to be able to see that. But how I even started was because like there was one guy in particular and he kept messaging me. Because like he'd be like, hey, how do you do this? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just born with this stuff. You know how that bravado is. Like after I've been struggling for so long, I want to kind of be that ego guy where it's like I'm a magic person. But he basically just kind of wore me out because he was just like he had been working a job where he had been there for about 7 years and he hadn't gotten a raise in 6 of them. And it was like a public accounting firm, like a small public accounting firm. And like he was in his mid-30s, still making about as much money as when he first showed up to that job. And
Right.
then he was working just ridiculous hours. He couldn't go to like opening day baseball games when he wanted to. And he just like just had enough. So eventually he was like, I'll pay you. I was like, what? What do you mean you'll pay me? He goes, yeah, you show me what to do and I'll pay you. Like you can be a consultant. I was like, oh, consultant? What do you mean by consultant? Don't you have to
Right.
be like some corporate person and you go charge? He's like, no. So then
Huh.
I was like, at that
Give me
moment,
your
I
advice.
figured I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
I figured that if that person did like steal all my clients, at least I like make some money back with the consulting fee, and that's how I got into it. So I run both the accounting firm and I run the mentorship program. And a
Mhm.
lot of people ask, why do you do the mentorship program rather than just like go build your accounting firm full time? It's very similar to you. Like I enjoy teaching. I enjoy learning. It gives me a reason to read as many books as possible because then I can just talk and break down information to the people in a very digestible manner. It's just different. It's different. Like some people think it's kind of a cop out to go the coaching and mentorship route rather than just grow your business. But as you probably know, it's harder to grow a mentorship, a coaching, and a training business than it is to grow an accounting firm, which it just kind of makes me laugh every time I hear that. But that's how it was formed. I know a long answer, but I just wanted to give you the complete answer.
What's one of the favorite nuggets that you read or learned that just completely flipped the script for you?
It was this phrase by a gentleman named Grant Cardone. It's contacts lead to contract, which lead to cash in hand. And the reason why, because the difference between a contact and a contract is the letter R, which stands for relationships,
Mm-hmm.
right? So at that point, like marketing kind of shifted, and I was just like, oh, I just don't know enough people to make any money.
Right. Yeah, networking is huge, getting to know people, but building that personal relationship. Like that was one of the things when we were talking about just posting on Facebook earlier. You don't have a relationship with the person. They don't have any reason to trust you. And it's not until you actually like get to know a person and see the context around their advice that you can see where it fits for you.
Yeah. Which is cool because like a lot of the students on my program, like they don't even post content. It's crazy how to just be it. I call it like magnetism. Its ability to be open, its ability to listen, ability to ask good questions, and the ability to be able to relate to the person. If you just do those four things, like this stuff is so simple. And it took me so long to figure it out. And that's why it's like whenever you see people in my program, it's like they'll just grow so fast because like I just tell them, hey, it's all right to ask for what you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right to be upfront and be like, hey, I want a lot of money. Oh, you just said that you only want to pay me $150 a month. It's kind of not gonna cut it. Like
Right.
we can go with that, but this is what you're gonna get.
Right. You're either not going to get a
And
good, you're either going to not get a good result or enough of a result if you're underpaying for the service. Well, where can
yeah,
people go to learn more about your program to see how you can help their firms grow?
so there's two ways. One, you can go find me on Facebook by just typing the name Bryce J. Tubbs. Another thing you can go is look at my YouTube channel called Virtual Accounting Strategies.
Okay.
And we have probably about 150 videos up at this point by now. Behind the scene coaching calls, so you guys can actually look at exactly what my students are doing in order to grow their business. We have student recaps, so you can actually hear from their mouth what they did, as well as just hours and hours of content, so you guys can start getting some results in advance. And then when the time's right, like we just work together, kind of like what you're saying. It's give them the farm, then all of a sudden they want some more information.
Right. Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, well,
Awesome,
it's been
awesome.
really good getting to know you over this time, and I fully support everybody to whatever your goals are in your business. Some people just want to be the small solopreneur with a handful of clients, and other people want to be seven-figure businesses. And getting help defining that goal and then the concrete steps to get there, Bryce can be really great for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate getting to know you. I know that that your flight was rescheduled, so I'm like happy that we're able to get this thing like going, and I really appreciate you doing that. And thank you for those watching. Really appreciate you. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. If you're watching this on Facebook, go and join her group. Go join my group, and then we'll see you guys on inside. Can't wait to add some value to you guys.